This video is for business leaders who want a daily Kaizen habit to continuously increase their company's success and productivity and effectiveness. So have you ever been frustrated by the whole overdone, overplanned, overprocessed Kaizen type of techniques you've seen out there? Truth is, not that there isn't value in them, especially when you're talking about very complex processes. Much of it isn't necessary in the real world continuously every day. There's a lot of things missed by that uber formalized version of Kaizen. It's not like the philosophy is all that complicated. Continuous improvement. It doesn't have to have all those processes and big meetings and everything else, though sometimes that's the desirable path. On a day-to-day basis, there's a better way to do it. So this video will cut through all that crap and give you a simple way to make Kaizen an everyday thing. Watch to the end for bonus material on simple ways to build Kaizen into your workplace culture and my recommended video on a 4-step continuous improvement process. Far less than you've seen it if you've seen many of the formal Kaizen workshops. So essentially what this comes down to is that small tweaks can make a massive difference. I'm going to give a specific and personal example. It's so simple, yet it's exactly the essence of Kaizen that you and your employees, your team can use every day to make a significant difference outside those costly, time-consuming, overly formal nonsense that unfortunately becomes the dominant thing for Kaizen, and yet it shouldn't. That should be for specific applications when nothing else is going to work. So the essence of this is just to test and iterate, or iterate and test, however you want to do it, because things don't always work. And it's more about what you do when something doesn't work as you hope it would, or you recognize a better way to do it. So essentially, this is as simple as this. I moved my microphone because I found the gain was too much, and no matter where I tweaked it, I just realized moving it further away was the best option to get better sound. Unfortunately, as small as that is, we're talking about moving the whole thing less than a foot from where it was. I still had a sight line directly to the little tiny LED that allows you to know that the power is on. And yet, after making that small modification of moving the mic back on its spring-loaded, like the desk lamps that adjust, so it's a spring arm, I kept forgetting to turn off the power. This isn't a big deal, but it's one more thing that by that small modification I made, it actually made my process sort of worse in a small but important way. So all I did then was I took it and I took the preamp, which is just about that big, and I moved it to a different location on the swing arm, and then angled the whole preamp, which is also about this square. So it's this square by about that long. I moved it in such a way that I've now basically, the light from the LED is coming almost directly into my eyes, though it's 2 feet away. It's so obvious now that it's basically impossible to miss and not turn it off. So what I'd done before that and didn't work was I thought, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with where it was, but there was. And what was wrong with where it was I thought, well, I'll just in my script template, I'll add a giant green reminder, because I use black background, white text, and then green, so it emphasizes important actions I should be taking rather than just the dialogue. Unfortunately, it didn't work. I tried it for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and I realized I kept leaving it on and draining it. The reason this is an issue is because this particular preamp actually has a battery. It's designed to be portable, so I can run into problems, even though I always have a spare battery. So then I did what I've already described, which is I just adjusted the angle, moved it to a different location on the boom arm, moved it maybe 6 inches to a foot closer to my eyes than it was, but the problem went away. And the only reason that this is significant is, though this really seems kind of trivial, it could be the difference between me appearing poorly prepared for a critical meeting or presentation, or the difference between landing a major contract or being forever ignored by a key decision maker simply because I seem incompetent for not having my equipment ready. Because in preparing, I left it on for an extended period of time, and suddenly I cut out, and now I have to fumble live on a streamed event to replace the battery. Those are the things. It's sort of like the Pareto principle, but the Pareto principle is way oversimplified. 80-20 is probably irrelevant. It's the essence of the idea rather than that number that people always quote. The difference making this small Kaizen-like continuous improvement change was like 99-1. And speaking of the Pareto principle and that 80-20, it was also originally, at least from what I've read and listened to, was applied that 80% of the wealth was owned by 20% of the population. Now, if we look at today's modern world, it's far closer to 99% of the wealth is owned by 1% of the population. So it's about how small actions or small proportions can contain the greatest impact, not the specific numbers. Okay, and this is an example of that. It was tiny. It took me no time at all. So essentially what this means is that it takes almost no effort for you to continuously and ongoingly just have the, let's call it a scanning continuous mindset of Kaizen. That continuous improvement is always an option and an opportunity in your environment. And you don't know when it's coming up. Having that formal workshop with all the boards and all the Kanban and all that stuff, great. But what about in real life where you actually identify the things as they happen? And most of the time you either do nothing about it or you put it off and nothing happens. So this is about noticing the opportunities for improvement during the course of your daily work as a habit. And that's the other key part. I haven't done this formally. I just do it all the time. It's just part of my life, part of my work. And I also apply it when I'm doing my work with clients. It's really not that hard, but it is a habit and it does have to be formed. So welcome to the bonus material. And essentially it comes down to this. Every day is the right day to have a Kaizen mindset habit, or to have a Kaizen habit of continuous improvement, not just when you get in some people from Japan here to spout some words in Japanese which make it seem all wise and stuff, and then you do all this all-day workshops and blah blah blah. Great. That is not your normal work environment, and there are probably a lot of things you will miss during that kind of Kaizen process because you're not behaving normally. So you are not engaging in normal stuff that you would, so you miss it. And when you find that in real life, it's as you go about your regular day. So essentially, aim in most cases right now. The idea is that right now, in most cases, right now is the right time to act. That is, I noticed the problem, I just acted on it immediately. And this is really important in terms of the next step, which is test and iterate, right? I tried the message didn't work. Pretty simple. I moved it to a new place and it worked like gangbusters, far more than 80-20. So test and iterate your way to continuous improvement as an everyday habit immediately and without needing to seek permission. And this is where you as the business leader come in. To make this possible, you as the leader must build that into your company culture and policies. The essence is, if you see something that needs to be fixed, or you see something that you can make a significant improvement on in a reasonable time, like a day or less than a day, you could set a time limit to it or something. But in general, you say, you recognize something that could improve things, you recognize a problem and you have a way to fix it, or you're going to pursue it and figure out a way to fix it, just go ahead and do it. If it takes 4 hours or half a day or 2 hours or whatever it is, just to give people a chance to pull the trigger rather than have a meeting about a committee meeting about bringing Kaizen consultants to tell you, why didn't you just go ahead and fix it immediately? So it's as simple as that. Make it policy and give people permission as though they were the boss. If you were the boss and this happened and you had the power to do it, would you do it? And if the answer is yes, they should have the permission to do it. The other thing you need to do if you're going to do this, though, is you cannot punish them for making the judgment. It may be the right judgment or the wrong judgment, but they will calibrate provided you give them as leaders the feedback they need. And maybe you adjust, you iterate, you Kaizen your policies around basic everyday Kaizen initiative, Kaizen habits, so that they work better and better for you. Be meta, apply Kaizen to your own Kaizen process. So that's really it for this entire episode. And my recommended video for today is 4 words away from continuous improvement. It's a video that talks about a 4-step process for Kaizen-like or continuous improvement. I make no distinction because in the language itself, there is no distinction. Okay, so please, if this video helps you, pass it along to anybody who's been through these painful, bullshit, nonsense, super expensive, ultra formal Kaizen processes with so many layers to them that they miss the spirit and everyday opportunity you have and everyone has in their organization to make small incremental changes which could make disproportionate improvements in your business, profits, and success. This has been Crush It Club 273, Kaizen, a continuous improvement habit. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.